We looked at some traditional loop styles for finding people on a list. We had this idea that we could go through the list ourselves looking for somebody who matched Daniel Sedin. The problem with this loop style here in the for loop is that it's essentially the main program that's doing all the work. One of the things that we like to do in Java is move the work down and get rid of the work so that we don't have to do it ourselves. So let's look at another way of doing it. We could search for somebody by dressing somebody up to look like the one that we want. So what we're going to do here is we're going to make a brand new hockey player that looks somewhat like Daniel Sedin. He's got the same name, first name and last name, but notice this one doesn't have any goals and assists. It's essentially just a template that we're going to use to find the actual one. And then what we do with the template is we go through all of the items that are on the list with our for each loop, and we ask the sample one that looks like the one we want whether or not they're a match for the real one who's on the list. As soon as the sample one says, yes, I match the real one, then we're essentially done, and we can turn around and print them out. Okay? So the trick here is making a fake one that looks like the real one. And we've supplied, in the hockey player, we've supplied an isAmatchFor function, or method. Now notice that it's in the hockey player class because we're using somebody who looks like a hockey player to match another hockey player. So we go look in the hockey player class. Here's our isAmatchFor method. And notice that the isAmatchFor method is basically the code that we used to have in our main program. We've taken the same style of if statements and we've dropped them inside a method. And in place of the break statements, which would cause us to exit a loop, there is no loop because you're only matching against one at a time here. The loop is done someplace else. And so all it isAmatchFor does is it just rejects ones that don't match until it's left with saying, okay, I guess that must be a match. So if the pieces don't match, that must be a match. One thing I'll mention about isAmatchFor is that this matching function essentially will never use all of the information that's available inside your object. So for instance, hockey player not only has first name and last name, but it has goals and assists. The goals and assists are immaterial because we're saying we think that these two things are similar because they have the same first names and last names only. So you don't actually want to match for goals and assists at all.